Welcome to the Lowland Catchup. It's myself, Rampant FM. Today I'm joined by Mozza. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. How's you?
Yeah, good. I'm just back from shopping with my nana. That's what I do at weekends when there's no football. So
Living the exciting life.
Exciting life. Most people, when they ask on a podcast, are you alright? How you doing? Aye, it's fine. Do you reckon there's ever anyone that's like, no, it's just not going great at the moment? The pod goes in a completely different direction.
That'd just be an awkward end to the pod when I just started, wouldn't it? Like, aye, so we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, right, we need to talk about this. And obviously, Sean, how you doing, mate?
I'm good.
We've had a wee bit of a break, been busy with the squad list. Put out a YouTube-only version of the catch-up, just me talking through the squad lists. Today we're going to do it sort of again, but obviously probably a bit more perspective, about a wee bit more in depth in terms of where we think the teams will end up. Just our general feel at the moment, guys. You just happy with that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so we'll do it exactly like I started during the week. Obviously, we'll do it alphabetical order. I'll start with Berwick Rangers, obviously relegated from League 2. Obviously, Cove Rangers beat them in the playoff. They've kept a few boys. They are not loads. They've signed Kieran Chalmers, who I've mentioned. Obviously, I rated from Kelty Hearts. He was good at Selkirk as well. Ewan Smith, SPFL experience with Brecon City. Obviously, Ian Little, Whitehill Welfare last season. He's brought in Jack Wright and Ali Smith, and there's 3 boys up from the under-20s / reserves. And just today, obviously, they've announced 2 boys from the east of Scotland as well. They do have a challenge in sort of Betfred Cup, Ayr United, Falkirk, Livingston and Stranraer. I don't know too much what to make of Berwick Rangers in terms of their team. I mean, they have brought in, obviously, guys that we know fairly well, the guys like Kieran Chalmers and Jack Wright, where we kind of rate them quite highly because they're still quite young players. But I see a lot of people, I don't know if you guys obviously checked the forums on Pie and Bovril, but there was people that were making the predictions, and there are certain people that kind of rate Berwick Rangers quite high. I wouldn't say I'm one of them, from what I've seen so far. I don't know your guys' feels on Berwick Rangers.
Yeah, I think it depends how they get started. A lot of their season's going to base on kind of the first 5-6 games, I think. Because if they hit the ground running and they adjust well, then they've got every chance of competing for the league. But we've seen previously when new teams have come into the league, it sometimes takes them a wee bit of time to adjust. Kelty didn't really have that issue, actually, now that I think of it. But the difference with Kelty was they had a really settled squad that knew each other implicitly. Berwick have put a lot of guys together that have never played together before, so that pre-season is going to be absolutely key for them. They've still got talent in there though, like the likes of Darryl Healy, for example, who when he was last in this league scored goals for fun, and he was wanted by all the kind of decent sized clubs in it. So proof will be in the pudding. It depends on how they get started, I think. But what do you think, Sean?
It's going to be a big change for them dropping down from League 2 into the Lowland League. It's still a good calibre teams there, but it's how they handle that step down, because they've still got some really good players in there. And like you say, Chris, we've seen some of the players in the Lowland League before, and they can play at this level quite well. But I think it's a very good point about the fact that it's going to be quite a new team. They're going to have to adapt. I think they'll benefit a little bit. I've been obviously a bit of a supporter of Ian Little, and the fact that he's been with Berwick before and he's also played in the Lowland League before. I think both of those things are going to benefit the team. But yeah, time will tell. It's we've only seen Shire take that step down before, and still a very strong team, but they didn't bounce back up as everyone probably predicted at the time. So it'll be interesting. It'll be the first few games are going to be interesting to see how they fare.
Yep, absolutely. And the thing about Berwick Rangers, they have brought in players I rate. Obviously, I've mentioned Kieran Chalmers, Jack Wright, who I think myself and you, Derek, kind of rated Jack Wright as one of the best prospects at Whitehill.
Yeah.
I think there's still doubts there for me. I think they'll be top half, but I don't think they're going to go for the title. Not with the team that I've seen so far. And there's not been any signings that have had the wow factor for me in terms of compared to an East Kilbride, a Kelty, a Shire. But you never know. I mean, I still have my doubts about Ian Little. I know you you mentioned him there, Sean, and it's based on last season with Whitehill. I know Whitehill were kind of a struggling team. But I think he's had success at Berwick Rangers before, but he knows Berwick Rangers and the club. But I'm basing it more on what's happened recently than maybe 3-4 seasons ago, basically.
I think the other point Sean brought up there, it's a good thing to bear in mind, is Shire still did alright when they came down, but they made up a couple of kind of eye-catching signings when initially they got relegated. But the big difference now is it's a much stronger league.
Yep.
Much stronger league than they stepped down to. So I agree with you, Chris. I think they'll be kind of comfortably mid-table to top half, but on the kind of balance of probabilities, I don't see them challenging for the title.
So we'll move on to Bonnyrigg Rose Athletic, obviously another new addition to the league, promoted from East of Scotland after they were granted their SFA licence. We went into a lot of detail about it last season. They did lose a lot of their firepower with Aaron Murrell going to Spartans and Keith Lau going to Whitehill Welfare. But the mainstays of the squad, Michael Andrews, Dean Brett, Lee Curry, Ross Gray, Lewis Swanson and Kieran McGackie up front. Obviously Johnny Stewart, their captain as well. Fairly decent team, I think, but again, it's probably, I don't see them going for the title similar to Berwick. I think it'll be more, I would probably say top 6. I could still see them, fighting, in the top 6 region, but it depends. They've kind of been quiet in terms of the transfer business. They've brought in Jamie Docherty and George Hunter, both young players. George Hunter was, among the top scorers in the East of Scotland last season. My worry about Bonnyrigg is we saw a wee bit last season from the games that we covered, and obviously we saw some Bonnyrigg as well. My big worry would be discipline with them. We did see when things weren't really going their way during games. They did lack a wee bit of discipline sometimes, and I think that would worry me. Come into a stronger league where they're probably not going to perhaps win every week and have the run the green like they did in the East of Scotland.
They were pitted against Lowland League opposition a few times last year, and they fared relatively well. They played against Shire in one of the cups, and it's a very different Shire team next season that they'll be playing against, but they managed to get through that game quite comfortably. And the same way when they played East Kilbride at the end of the season, the discipline side of things definitely crept in at the end there, but when you look at the Bonnyrigg side last season, I think they fared quite well when they did come up against Lowland League sides, and their team hasn't changed too much. A lot of the names that you named there, the guys who they're at the core of that team, they're back for next season, and if they can build a little bit on that, I think I don't see them winning the league, but I think they'll be right up at like you say, top 6-7.
I was impressed with Bonnyrigg when they played BSC in the cup last season, I must admit, Kieran McGackie especially. But I know you've said they've lost a wee bit of firepower there, Chris, but more importantly, I think from the Rose kind of standpoint, is they've basically kept their defence together, and they barely conceded any goals last season. So that's a brilliant kind of starting point for them moving up to a new league that they've already shown they can compete at this level with the teams, albeit in one-off games. I think they're set up to have a pretty decent season. Probably dark horses, I would say, in terms of the title race. You wouldn't expect them necessarily to be in it, but would it really be a shock if we were sitting in 6 months saying that they're in the mix? I don't think it would be. But do you know, the thing that's really hurt them is the delay with the club licence.
Yeah.
Because they've not been able to recruit as a proper Lowland League side till recently. So they might have well been able to pick up players that they've now missed out on by saying, well, we're officially at this level of football now, come and play for us, rather than being stuck in limbo. And I don't think it's helped, but can't go back and change time. It is what it is. They're just delighted to be in the league now, and I confidently would see them as a top half kind of slate finish this season, looking to build on it. Similar style at Kelty, what they did the season just gone.
So we'll get to BSC Glasgow, a team that you're fond of, Derek. First of all, we'll start by congratulating goalkeeper Stephen Barr on his degree. Massive congratulations. Thomas Collins said it best. They've kept the boys together. The mainstays. The only player they've brought in is Michael Anderson from East Kilbride, but a really decent midfielder. The thing about BSC, again, I've mentioned it before, and certainly we feel the same. I think last season we saw them consolidating a lot of loan signings, young players from SPFL clubs, and I would imagine that would be the case again. We've said it before, obviously, Derek. BSC, one of the more streetwise, sort of physical teams. I think it's in fairness to say they're probably playing up against better players and a lot of the teams that you expect them to be. Again, East Kilbride, Kelty, Shire. But certainly they're another team that are going to be up there for me. On paper, they've still kept, the team that finished runners up and won the Lowland League Cup, and I think that was the main thing. Like Thomas Collins said to me, but a couple more signings there, and I think they're going to be up there again.
BSC are unusual amongst the sides that finished kind of high up last season and are looking to retool in that. It's basically kind of the same squad they've kept on, which there's a lot to be said for, because the continuity is going to be there, and after a kind of slightly dodgy start with injuries and so on hitting, that's the group of boys that went on a phenomenal run and kept the title race interesting all the way. So I think Swifty's gone about his business over the close season exactly as he should have done. And to be fair, when you look at the names through, even though there's not been any kind of wow additions, Michael Anderson I think is a very, very good midfielder. Delighted he get picked up, and BSC have shown by going that route when Declan Hughes got picked up last season, he came in and was arguably player of the season. Very, very good. But there's players in that team. Tam Orr's going to get goals. Martin Green's going to be a focal point that will give pretty much any defence at this level kind of sleepless nights. You've got a really solid defence here. You've still got Ross McMillan playing on with Ross Smith. So there's strength all the way through the core of that team. And the thing that will make or break BSC's season will be the loanees that come in. There will be 2 or 3 at the very minimum, I'd expect. And we're kind of at the stage now where as squads get finalised higher up the ladder for Premiership, Championship teams, you'd expect to see a couple of these under-20s guys turn up, because one thing that Swifty proved last year was when these guys came in, they get game time, they improve, and they go into better things. Like Carlo Pignatello is the best example, that came in loan last season. Then he's off to Stranraer now, and he's going to be considered a first teamer. So it says it all really. If they can get a couple of quality loanee additions, then there's absolutely no reason why he can't challenge again.
No, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there's not much to add to that, but I think you hit the nail on the head with the continuity piece. That's something that we can talk all we want about East Kilbride and Shire and Kelty and all the signings that they've made, but that team's still got to gel in a short period of time, because pre-season will be over in no time. These guys, they did well last season, and BSC are a team that have got better every year since they joined the Lowland League, and the next step for them is going to be getting right to the top. So I wouldn't write them off, not at all. I think they'll be a really strong team.
Yep, absolutely agree. Civil service strollers kept their mainstays as well. Obviously, they had a few guys going out, but Chris McKee from East Stirlingshire, very, very good signing at the back there. Cammy Muirhead coming back. Well, he was on loan from Gownbeef last season. He's done really well on loan at strollers last season. And Jack Blakely from Vale Leven. There's more to come from civil service in terms of signings, I would suspect. But for me, they've got Gary Jardine there, who's probably one of the, had an incredible season last season with Civil, and we know how good of a manager he is. He's obviously won the league with Edinburgh City. Can they sort of, find the form again? Last season they seemed very, very plucky in terms of teams, very determined. They kind of were like the underdogs of the league. Never say die attitude. They came back from losing position so many times. I think the game against Shire is a great example when they just refused to lose when they were at the Falkirk Stadium. I was at that game and they won 4-3. But do you think they can recreate that form?
I would say because the fact that the league's getting a lot stronger. It's going to be more difficult for them to challenge. They didn't have the strongest end to their season last year, and I think they'll be a bit disappointed with that. But they've certainly been active at the beginning of this season and getting ready for the year ahead. They've obviously got all the work going on with their floodlights as well, so that's a bit of a statement. They're intending to hang around for a while. It's going to be a tough ask, but do you know what? It's if anybody can do it, I think it'll be Gary and this team that are going to be able to repeat what happened last season and challenge and see if we can just get a wee bit of a stronger finish and grind out a couple more wins. They could be right up there with anybody.
Yeah, I think Sean's kind of hit the nail on the head, to be honest, that there's no reason why Gary can't have these guys set up and go really well again, but it's going to be a much harder challenge this time round with the teams that are out there. And I would expect them to be top half, especially with the guys I've got and they've kept. As you say, there'll probably be one or two more additions coming down the line. But as long as they have a comfortable enough season, I think Civil's main focus this time round is going to be off the field in terms of getting their floodlights in to keep the licence. Because at the end of the season, if they've not got floodlights, they're not staying in the league full stop. So what I suspect what they'll want is a continuity kind of nice and safe season, mid-table up to top half of the table would be a result for them, and they can get things sorted behind the scenes where they can keep it going.
Cumbernauld Colts mentioned it a few weeks ago now. We weren't sure about Stephen O'Neill re-signing. He's confirmed has been re-signed, which is obviously a massive boost. Lewis Bonner and Marty Wright coming in, added with Daniel Fitzpatrick and Fraser's team. Obviously they've kind of strengthened in the sense, obviously bringing on Jonathan Greer at the back. Michael McInespie's a defender that's came in from Stirling Uni also. So they're looking not bad. They did lose a few players, but really it's another case of the same team together. Or your mate Derek, I was speaking to him yesterday just through DMs on Twitter, and I think the general feel is that they're going to go, trying to get back to that top six again. It's going to be difficult. I think they're in a similar situation with Strollers, that it's going to be really difficult for them to do, but they've got a team that knows this league inside out. But again, I feel at the moment we're probably going. It's just because obviously the strength of the teams that we have. Not everyone can be top half, sadly, but generally, I think the teams we've mentioned so far will probably be there or thereabouts, mid to top half, I would suspect.
Yeah, again, they've kind of followed the BSC mantra of keep the squad together that you want to keep, like that you've already invested in. Bit of continuity there and try and add on one or two good additions, and I think they've done that successfully. The thing that comes through with Colts every year, the kind of challenge we put to them is, are you going to fall away towards the end of the season? Because it's a regular occurrence now in terms of form and in terms of results. What they need is to have a campaign that not only starts well, but they maintain their form and their basically maintain the results, because it's happened every single season pretty much that they've fell away as perhaps minds might drift to the summertime until all these. So we'll see if they can cross that bridge this coming campaign. If they can, again, there's no reason why they can't be in the top half of this league, because they've been one of the most consistent teams over the last few years in the Lowland.
Yeah, I'd love to see them improve, because it was obviously a bit of a step back. Consistency was a big thing for them last year. That they'll be, if they can nip that in the bud, then they should have a much stronger season. Feel a bit more confident when I've seen the squad than I did when the news about Sean Brown leaving, because I think the team was a bit night and day when he was in last year. But they've added some good players, and they've got as much chance as everybody else. But I think that was a big loss for them. But outside of that, they've kept a lot of the same players in that they had last season, and they've added a couple of good players, so they could have a good season. And their opening games, I think they've got a couple of toughies. I think they play BSC and they play Gala away, so they've got a couple of tough opening fixtures there, but if they can get some points in the bag early doors, bit of consistency, I think they've got as much chance as anybody else to be up there in the top half of the league next year.
So we'll move on to Dalbeattie Star. The biggest thing for me is Richie Maxwell coming in as gaffer. He's added a lot of strength, and a lot of people I would suspect is probably going to be in the sort of bottom half. But we don't really get that. Certainly I've not seen, maybe going on last season, obviously the uni teams tend to have bigger squads, but we've not really seen a lot of the bottom sort of sides with the depth that Dalbeattie Star have, certainly starting the season out. Big massive thing is obviously Dean Brotherston in his back. He was the top scorer last season, having left the club in a few months into the season. So that's brilliant. From what I've heard, he's the first few games he's got a really decent partnership with Steve Degnan that's came in. I've gotten a few guys from Queen of the South. I think the keeper Ryan Gibson came from Queen of the South, and there are a few other boys. And obviously we know teams like Gretna always seem to get the Queen of the South guys in, so it'd be interesting to see where they're going to sort of get them players if Dalbeattie's took them. But stronger team in sense of there's a lot of depth. But is there a issue with having a bigger squad if guys are not playing in the sense, because most of the guys I spoke to last season was guys that were playing, but there was some people that you want to go out on a Saturday at this level and you want to get a game. Is that a bit of a danger? And just overall, is that squad good enough to not be where they are basically last season?
I think there's always a danger with that, but the flip side of that, the positive way of looking at it would be saying Dalbeattie have been known as having probably the smallest squad in the league in the last couple of years, and they've struggled because of that. So now they're finally in a position where they have a realistic bit of strength and depth there, and proof will be in the pudding, because I've said that twice now, but they've been towards the bottom of the table the last couple of years. If they get the quality of the squad right, and it looks like they have, bringing back Dean Brotherston and so on, not forgetting they've kept on mainstays like Curtis Wilson as well, they might well find themselves up towards mid-table rather than at the wrong end of the run of things. But there will be a bit of natural attrition. There always is at this level anyway. One or two guys will move on, so it'll come down to being more of a kind of normal average squad size, I suspect, as the season progresses. But I think they've got enough there to go ahead and have a better time of things this time round.
The two teams that finished at the foot of the table last year, them and Vale, both had the same issue with squad size, and those are the team that so far seem to have gone out and addressed that. So that should play in their favour. I believe that they'll still, they're still a team that I think their main aim will be to stay in the league. I don't think they'll travel too far up the table, but with a bigger squad and the fact that Dalbeattie is just such a tough place to go. We saw what they can do with some good running games, especially towards the end of last season when it really mattered, when they wanted to secure their place. They could string some good results together, and the squad seems to have got a bit stronger. So yeah, it should looking like it's shaping up to be a good season for Dalbeattie. Just
on the note, I think it was 17 re-signed, 17 guys re-signed. I think it was 17 or something along those lines, which is massive for, I think that's the most out of any club in the league. Maybe Spartans are along the same lines. But you mentioned obviously natural attrition. I think this is the fourth time Dean Brotherston's been at Dalbeattie. So yeah, and I'm sure he's still quite a young striker as well. So it'll be an interesting one.
The other thing that we should probably point out before we move on as well, bear in mind this is a Dalbeattie squad that finished last season very strongly, with some really, really good results, not against kind of any other teams. It's big sides who were playing well against BSC, Spartans and the like, so that's a positive to take, that they've kept all these boys on to finish so strongly.
And another thing is, well, we're obviously going into the opening fixtures in later podcasts, but I'm pretty sure they have, really, out the 5 fixtures, I think there's probably 4 teams that they're playing that we expect to be quite high up the league. So yeah, the opening 5 fixtures of this season for them are interesting, let's put it that way. So the champions, East Kilbride, still the team to beat for me. They've probably not got the depth for the likes of Shire and Kelty in terms of numbers. I was speaking to Malks actually on Twitter about this. I might have made a comment. I reckon they've maybe not got the strength and depth in midfield for me. I know Dean Kearns can play there, but obviously Homer and Brady in centre mid, I think I would probably want a wee bit extra just in case anything happens to them in terms of injuries or suspensions. Darren O'Dea, fantastic signing, probably one of the more high profile signings in the league, probably in the existence of the Lowland League, I would suggest. But they did lose Craig Howie to Clyde, and we knew how highly rated he was. Mm-hmm. But Dan Carmichael and a name we know very well, Rory Payton, coming in. For me, the most important thing was actually the coaching team. Jim Patterson coming in as assistant, Dean Shanks, the former Gala manager, coming in as first team coach. That's very impressive for this level. They've obviously got, similar to Berwick, they've got the Betfred Cup. Mm-hmm. This time Albion Rovers, St Mirren, Edinburgh City, old rivals, Dunfermline. Yeah, they're up there. They're the very top. They've got a lot of players with a sort of winning mentality. A very, very strong side. For me, they're in amongst the favourites this season. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I think you're quite right. It's a team that did very well last season, and they look to have got stronger. You're spot on with the point about the squad size. When you just look at numbers wise, it's not looking as strong as some of the other teams in the league. It's even looking like a small squad beside Dalbeattie right now. But it's of those small number of players, there's a lot of good players in there. And the additions they've made, I think, are only going to make them better for the season ahead. So yeah, the league's going to be stronger next season, but East Kilbride are looking stronger as well. So they'll be the ones to beat, I think. I'm
not going to put them as my favourites. Unlike yourself, Chris, I don't think.
I said in amongst, mate. In amongst the favourites. Yeah, I'm covering my back on that one as well, pal.
I thought I had a chance with the fishing rod there, never mind. Obviously, reigning champs, they're the team to beat. And they've kept on the guys that I think most people would consider they had to keep on. I was interested to see the likes of Jamie Longworth move on. I thought that was quite an interesting move there, because he's clearly still got the ability, but I noticed there's a bit more of a youth movement into this squad, which again is something I think when we went up to the game, Sean, at Cove, we remarked on that Kilby looked a wee bit old in that game. It was a younger, fitter, stronger team, just pace and power that overpowered them ultimately. But yeah, I think Rory Payton could potentially be under the radar, one of the best signings of the whole close season. He's been at this level, he's proven himself, he scored goals for fun at a team that arguably wouldn't have created as much for him. So I'd be very, very interested to see what his final goal tally looks like come the end of the campaign. I do think they need another couple of midfielders like yourself, Chris, as well.
Yep.
I'd expect that to be addressed though, because Malk obviously is a guy that knows his stuff, shall we say, in that regard. He's not going to leave any stone unturned, and he's determination to go ahead and essentially make up for what he sees as what he didn't do last year when we spoke to him and get through the playoffs. His aim is to get this club promoted again. It didn't quite happen for them last year, and he'll be doing everything in his power to give them the same chance this time round and go one better.
So we'll move on to East Stirlingshire, another team that's in amongst the favourites, Derek. They've built a team there, I've got to say. Messaged you guys when they were signing all these players, and I was like, had it in my head that they were a team to go out for the league title. I think a lot of SPFL experience. They've signed obviously Evan Horn recently, Eddie Malone, Jordan Tappin at the back. The whole team's just been, basically brought together. You obviously mentioned the fact that they need to gel together, Sean, which is obvious at this level, especially with pretty much a new team. Nicky Lowe, another high-profile signing. Jamie Dishington coming in from Spartans, who I believe the fee for him is going to be in six figures from what Spartans were saying. So I'm looking. Bobby Barr, Reece Peggy, Mark Miller, who you mentioned that you was impressed. Pizzo, Matty Flynn, Ed Sport, and with the guys still there, obviously Andy Rogers, Dale, Jamie Barkley. It's a team, for me, they've got to be considering amongst the favourites. I think the only thing, Bill, obviously we spoke to Bill last season, the Shire chairman, he's going to give Dale time. I just hope, because the first opening fixture is obviously against BSC. They do have a few, I think East Kilbride are no long after that. I really hope that the Dale gets time, and if they're not, I hope they don't fall away, because we know how important it is to basically get the wins on the board in this league, because a bad spell with 5 games can really have you basically making up for it. And Shire, obviously they have a money factor this season. I don't think it's as transparent as it is in terms of, we don't really know in terms of if there's conditions of that money, if that makes sense. I think that's fair to say. Do they have to get promoted? Is there more pressure because of the money factor? If they're not doing well in like, say, October or something, we won't see a similar situation with Dell and Andy like we did last season with Shire when things weren't going well. But what are your guys' general thoughts on Shire?
I was very impressed with them when I went last weekend and saw the friendly away at Blackburn. It was a bit of a kind of shell lineup they had out though, because of availability. To the point, I don't think Dell's actually going to be intending to play this season properly. He'd rather be in the dugout, but he was putting himself about. He still got it, by the way. He could easily still be a first team player in this league. But as you kind of touched on there, I was really, really impressed with Mark Miller. I think he is going to get double figures this season in terms of goals. He's one of these players that it doesn't look like he's doing much when he's on the ball. He picks a simple pass, but he picks the right pass. The thing that really impressed me with him though is he's an old school box to box midfielder that will arrive at the perfect time, and the ball always seems to make his way to him on the edge of the box, or when he just ghosted in unannounced essentially. And he's an all action midfielder, very, very, very impressive for my eyes anyway. But up front, when you look at what they've got, Sean Brown, Peter McDonald, Pizzo could easily still be playing League 2 football in my opinion. Matty Flynn, we had a chat before the pod about just how many goals he actually got last season, kind of flying under the radar. They've got strength all over that squad now, and I do think there's more pressure on it because of money factor, like you mentioned, that there will naturally be an expectation of results from the investment. I think Dell will get his time. I don't think they'll make a knee-jerk decision, especially after what happened last season. But yeah, they won't want to get themselves in a hole that they need to come back out of too quickly. And it's a tough old start. Everyone's got a tough start because it's a tough league, but certainly as the squad's gelling together, they'll want to make sure that they get the 3 points week in, week out, and that'll make things a hell of a lot easier going forward.
No, absolutely. They're definitely going to be an interesting team to watch next year. They've done the same thing as Kelty and gone out and got some players from higher up the leagues, but they've also, they've had to pick a good few players from the Lowland League that have got experience in this league and played not only in this league, but they've played to a high level in this league. Flynn, Brown, Dishington, they've all played some really good football last season, and East Lanarkshire have gone around the league a little bit and picked up some of their players. That opening fixture against BSC, I think, is a game that I think that's going to be really interesting for an opening fixture game, because we're all talking about how we're hopeful for most teams that they're going to improve, but obviously not everybody can improve. That's going to be quite a telling game. I know it'll only be 1 week in, but just to see how impactful pre-season has been for Shire and how much BSC are able to maintain what they had last year. They're a very interesting team to watch, and that fixture in particular is going to be a really interesting one to see.
Is there an issue with their squad size? Is it maybe like such a big squad? I mean, I can't imagine guys like, say, Bobby Barr would appreciate not playing. I'm not saying he won't play, but they have quite a big squad there. Is it possible to keep all the boys happy?
all my point on that is I think in the Lowland League there's a lot of games. There's a lot of cup games in there. I think you probably, these bigger squad sizes, you probably see the teams going through that many players, like all the teams going through that many players across the course of the season. A couple of these teams have just got in early, I think, and they've got big squad sizes. It's gonna reduce the number of injuries that they have to suffer through the season for playing for a smaller pool of players, having to overwork them and leading to injury. I think they'll benefit, and I think the players hopefully will be and should be grateful that they're not going to get overused, if you like. They'll get their opportunities to play at a high level, but they're going to stay healthy or they've got a better chance, I think, of staying healthy for the full season as well. So I think so.
And obviously at this level you've got the extra ability to put guys out on loan anytime you want, down to the East of Scotland League for example. We've seen that used the last couple of years, and now the East of Scotland League stepped up in quality. Don't be surprised if there is an issue with any team with squad depth. If you see one or two guys beginning to go out on loan to the likes of the East of Scotland Premier, Whitehill Welfare, these kind of clubs, as time goes on.
A bit of competition is never a bad thing either. So, nobody in these bigger squads, they're not safe. There's somebody at their heels looking to get that starting place in the first 11 the following week, and a bit of competition. As long as it's healthy, there's nothing wrong with that. So the teams could benefit.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like your point, Derek, but my worry with Shire is they have so many sort of high profile guys.
I understand what you're saying, mate, and that's ultimately where Dell's challenge is going to be, keeping everyone happy.
I mean, not obviously, I'm playing a wee bit of devil's advocate there, but obviously we're doing that with all the teams, I guess, so it's only fair. The criticisms and potential issues, I guess.
He just loves the controversy, folks.
Not at all. So Edinburgh University, obviously favourites for the league title. They're a complete mystery uni. We don't have much on their squad, unfortunately. They do most of their. For anyone that doesn't know, Edinburgh Uni do most of the recruiting a bit later than the likes of Stirling Uni. So I've been told. So we don't really have much to go with. We can only really base it off last season. They did pick out a few decent results, especially against bigger sides. I think they drew with Kelty early doors. They drew with Spartans early doors. They beat BSC, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So they did pick up a few decent results against big teams. But my biggest concern for Edinburgh Uni is obviously that losing streak towards last season. Had Whitehill not had the losing streak that they went through, I think that was probably the second biggest in terms of not picking up any points towards the end for Edinburgh Uni. For me, it's hard to say because obviously we don't know too much about their team, the guys they're bringing in, but I would be a wee bit concerned in terms of other teams, the quality that they have for Edinburgh Uni. I think they're probably going to be fighting off relegation. We did kind of think that last year, and they proved us wrong. So we might be wrong about that again. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think they've got I think any uni team, although I would say Stirling, I think seem to have a better setup. Their ceiling's not as high as some of these other clubs because they are bound by a lot by term time when people go back home that are travelling up to uni. And as the league continues to get stronger, it's going to get more and more difficult for these uni teams to stay up in the league. But in saying that, some of these games like that draw away Kelty that they had early on last year was before uni had even began, when they managed to pick up a couple of good points in the league. So I'd agree with yourself. I know very little about the team as well heading into the next year, but or this year. But I think they're going to struggle. And when you look at how they ended last year, the way that Dalbeattie have moved forward, it seems in the pre-season, they're going to have to do something special to not be fighting off relegation this year.
Yeah, I think this is the flip side of the league getting stronger every year. That for clubs like the university teams, it's always going to be harder year on year to establish themselves at this level and maintain their position. They obviously can't just go out and add in anyone they want into their squad. They're very much relying on the kind of pool they've got within the uni, plus one or two extra players that generally will have some sort of connection. So it's going to get harder every year as the standard improves. The thing with Edinburgh is they've not had the same attrition that Stirling Uni have had this year. They've not lost any other players to SPFL clubs. So, like, you look at Stirling and Chris Geddes, they've lost 4 starters. Edinburgh Uni haven't, as far as I can tell. So, if they have kept a hold of like Abdul Yusuf, who's proven himself at this level, Quivalainen as well, they're likely going to be in a relegation battle, but they'll have every chance of staying up. It's so dependent on the quality they've got within the uni, though, for Edinburgh. So we'll see how it kind of all plays out. And I think Mark Tate's finished as well now, isn't he? So they might be relying on an experienced goalkeeper, which would be interesting to see how that plays out as well.
Well, on to the team that I called consistently inconsistent last season. Edisport Academy, they have lost a lot of their, the Jordan Alexanders away, Phil Cove, guys like that. They've I think Jean-Guy Lucas is the only sort of French guy that I noticed. Yeah, Edisport Academy, I've probably been a wee bit harsh on them, I think. But I do expect them to be a wee bit better, given the fact they have probably the best facilities, the best coaching. They have brought in a lot of SPFL experience in terms of this season, especially last season as well. I probably expect them to be fighting, maybe not for the title, but certainly up there. And obviously they were kind of just hit and miss last season. They brought in Davy Winters and Ross McNeil. Obviously we know BSc and BSc and East Kilbride. Neil McLaughlin's came in from Stirling. They've brought other guys with SPFL experience. They've got a new home, obviously, in Alliance Park, and they are doing season tickets for £25. I believe they came up with that first. I think BSC copied them, was the accusation. But I really don't know about Edisport. I mean, as I say, I was kind of disappointed in them last season. Again, I don't want to use too harsh words, but their team last season, the guys they had, they didn't really impress. Kind of disappointed when I did see them. There's a few guys that are obviously decent players, but for whatever reason it just didn't gel. They had a lot of attrition here and there as well that I noticed, guys coming in, guys coming out, especially towards the end of the season. But yeah, they did have Jordan Alexander, who's now away. Pullman Bassey, the keeper, was a really good goalkeeper as well. He's away, so they have lost a lot of the sort of academy element of their team, if you will. I'm assuming they'll obviously get more guys in, but it looks like they're going more SPFL experience in terms of their Lowland League team. I would imagine a lot of academy guys would now be in their South of Scotland team, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think what they've set up to do this season is quite interesting, because they've totally changed their ethos, and we touched on it at points last season that they were beginning to change their approach, but I think Chris has clearly had a look at it and thought, we're not going to get promoted just by academy boys. We need a kind of Scottish spine, an experienced core to the team, and they're very much gone and done that now. The South of Scotland team being formed tells me that that's where most of the top academy players will be, and potentially stepping up to support the first team as and when needed, which is interesting. If that works out for them, it's an inspired move. But the concern I've got when I look at their squad just now is up front, there's not too much pace for what I can tell. Davy Winters, I'm sure he'll freely admit he's not the spring chicken he once was. He's a great experienced professional, but he's not got the kind of quickest turn of pace, and he was kind of more featuring as a backup for BSC towards the end of the year. Ross McNeil's a great striker, but he's not the quickest as well. So I think they do need somebody just to take the top off their defence. But other than that, there's quality through that squad. And yeah, they seem to have been doing alright in pre-season as well. I've noticed Dom Slattery's got a couple of really good reviews thus far. Obviously, John Guy Lucas is proven quality at this level. Ali El Zabadi's a great centre half. Davy Sinclair there as well. So they've got plenty of guys in there that can kind of influence a game for the better. But yeah, I suspect they'll probably need something a wee bit extra going forward.
Yeah, I'd agree with you both. I think it's going to be another one to keep an eye on as the season kicks off and see how they fare, because they've made a lot of change this year, both with the South of Scotland squad, definitely trying to add a lot of experience into their Lowland League squad, and obviously their moving stadium as well is going to be a big thing for them this season. But yeah, mid-table sort of where I expect them to be, but they've certainly got some ambition, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do push up a little bit. And if they don't do this season, I think their ambition's certainly growing, and they'll be looking to do that over the next couple of years.
The other thing is, if we get to January and they're in with a chance of the league, expect them to make quality additions in January as well.
Yeah, as I say, I don't want to sound harsh, I'd be too harsh on them, but yeah, I think I was last season, so I can only apologise to any Edisport fans listening in, but they do have, in terms of this level, they do pretty much have I think it's fair to say they have the best everything. I mean, even the guys that they bring into, if Stephen Cragen was, training some of the younger guys, and last season, you guys that the links they have there in terms of their coaches as well, vast experience compared to some teams in this league. So
yeah, definitely.
I do expect them to do better, and hopefully they will this season. Hopefully they'll not give me too much to criticise them for. So moving on to another team that I was probably had a lot to say about towards the end of last season, or certainly the last few weeks or the last few months, if you will. Gallagher Rovers, Danny Galbraith, a fantastic signing, local lad, obviously from Gala Shields, former Hibs, really good midfielder, good player. They didn't really announce too much. I'd heard through the grapevine about a few of them, but Lewis Grant from Bora defence, Alex Chingwalus, who we both know, Sean from Kelty's under-20s, has signed. He's obviously a really decent, full-back. David Bonner, who I rated at Vale last season, he obviously went out of football for a wee bit. He's back with Gallagher, and they've obviously picked up a few other Vale boys, Craig McBride, Mark Berry, and obviously we've got the likes of Charlie Green, the young guys, and signing on again, and Ben Herdman back in the team after being on loan to Coldstream last season. I just don't think Gala are going to be as good as they were last season in terms of where they're going to end up in the league. I think they'll be, hate to say it, because I really like Gala, believe it or not, even though I've been critical of obviously the sack of Dean Shanks and stuff, but they're going to be bottom half. I don't think they're going to push top 8 this season, but again, they've still got a lot of business to do, I would suspect.
Yeah, the way they've gone about it, I think you can sort of tell that. I think even they'll be expecting a little bit of a step back this season. Last year was a very good season for them. I think finishing 8th, I think it was one of their strongest finishes. They've gone out and they've made a few changes, not as blockbuster as a few other teams, but they certainly, they've gone out there. They've still been active, but I think they are, it's a little bit rebuilding. The way that they've made changes all throughout the team, not just the squad. I would expect them to fall back a little bit, steer clear of the relegation spots. I don't think they'll be in a battle to stay in the league, but yeah, I think they'll be in the bottom half as well.
If we'd had this chat a couple of weeks ago, I think I'd have been a lot more worried about their prospects. But now they've actually started to confirm their squad. It doesn't look as bad as I initially feared for Gala. They've managed to keep guys like Scott Taylor-Mackenzie, like Phil Addison, who are proven performers at this level. They've added in, as you say, Chingy for Kelty, who's a well-known under-20s player who's ready to step up, I think. So I think the squad they've announced so far, they've still got more to do. I still think they should have enough to steer clear of relegation. But I agree with the two of you that I think they will take a step back and it'll be lower half of the league, purely based on their squad isn't as strong as it was last season, for what I can tell, despite a couple of good additions, and all the other teams haven't exactly stayed still. They've kept moving and improving. So yeah, I'd expect them to still have enough to stay in the league, but it's going to be a tougher campaign, I think.
Yeah, we talked about it obviously last season, but they done well to even get it, considering the injury crisis Dean and the boys had to put up with towards the end of the season. And it's a weird one, really, because you look at that team and think, yeah, it's a decent enough team, but I just, for whatever reason, I just don't think they're going to improve in terms of league position this season. But again, it's not played on paper, and certainly they've got more announcements coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gretna 2008, Chris Humphrey's first job as a manager. They've not really announced too much. O'Dane Damar and Darren Addison have only been the announcements really so far. I think they've got a lot of trialists playing for them, obviously. Their base squad there, obviously, they have lost a lot of guys, but I would say that the base has been kept. Guys like Daniel Smales, Kevin Connolly, Jake Smith, and guys like that. But from what I gathered, obviously I kind of touched on it earlier, they had been recruiting last season from Queen of the South, and it looks like some other clubs, including, most notably Dalbeattie, have been recruiting there, so I really don't know what type of players or where they're looking at for Gretna at the moment. I'm kind of a wee bit concerned about them, actually. I mean, we mentioned it last season in terms of their discipline. Sometimes Mozart can be a wee bit out of hand. They have kept a few of the guys that have notably have them issues. I think they've only got 13 guys in their squad at the moment. I would expect some more signings, but again, I reckon they're probably going to be bottom half for me as it stands. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as down the very bottom, but certainly bottom half. I would suspect at the moment.
Yeah, I think Gretna's the hardest team to predict, with the exception of Edinburgh Uni, because they've been very quiet about what they're doing just now, which they don't tend to put too much out there on social media and so on anyway. But I think Chris is just getting about his business quietly and kind of toiling away behind the scenes, trying to build their squad up. One of the interesting things I've noticed is how he's actually taking the pre-season with them. They've been doing like officer training and all sorts as part of it with the army, so obviously a few different ideas coming in, talking about discipline. That might help. But yeah, O'Dane Damar looks like a really decent addition, and basing that purely on clips that I've seen of him. I've not actually seen him in the flesh, but seems a very composed defender that could probably play midfield as well, comfortable on the ball. And he's obviously got international experience, amongst other things. They tend to look around about the North England for their additions, like kind of Carlisle, Penrith, these kind of teams. Historically, they've always added a few guys for Penrith. They've not done so yet this time round, which is interesting. So yeah, it's a tough one to kind of gauge and predict. They've still got Kevin Connolly, which is a big plus for them. A man who you just know he's going to put the ball in the back of the net, and he's a great presence to have in the team as well, a great experience there. But I think it'll be a much younger squad than they've had in the last few years. I suspect Chris will have links for loanees coming in as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
The friendly they played against Motherwell, there was a lot of kind of positive reports about how the young players played, and they put a lot of trialists and a lot of youth guys in the second half and kind of collapsed after that. But the initial expectations and the initial kind of feedback from it was that they were quite impressive, and they were competing against a strong Motherwell side the first half. So I'm not going to put them in the relegation battle just yet, but a lot depends on who actually gets signed up in the next week or two.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. Their squad does look a little bit sparse at the moment, but I think all these teams that are sort of hovering down that sort of borders area, they're always going to struggle with recruitment. How Chris does as a manager, I think, is going to play a big part in their season, because he was obviously the big name that moved down there and took over took over the team for this season. There's a lot of unknowns going on at the moment with Gretna, but they're definitely going to have it's going to be a tough ask for them to stay away from that relegation battle, I think.
Kelty Hearts, obviously another team that I would expect to compete at the very top. They lost a bit of the old guard. Obviously, Gary Layton recently has left of work commitments. Scott Dial left last season. I'm not actually sure what's happening with Scott, if he's playing still, or Sean Gregg Skips moved on with Murray Carstairs Muzz taking up the captain's armband for the season. They've got an incredible depth. I would just, the players that they've signed, Nathan Austin, Dylan Easton, Thomas Riley, Scott Linton. We've mentioned it before, obviously, but I think more people are focused on Barry Ferguson in terms of the manager, seeing what he's going to do, because obviously, again, I think it's a wee bit unfair for him. A lot of people look back on his days at Clyde and with Dylan Easton, and he was obviously the playmaker at Clyde, and then he got injured, and I think that's the knock on Barry, that sometimes he lacks a bit of a plan B, but I think it's based on previous management times, but I think it's probably a negative knock on him, but he's also got a lot of depth in that squad. We saw a wee bit towards the end of last season where I think Kelty did struggle a wee bit. I think for Barry this season, he's got the depth there that I think there will definitely be a plan B and enough strength and whatnot to go out and complete the top. But we've mentioned it a lot. Obviously, that we have to kind of say our opinion on the issue of Barry Ferguson, because there are people that that knock him. I don't know whether that's because of Clyde or just the fact that it's Barry Ferguson. But for me, obviously, Kelty Hearts, amongst the favourites for the title.
Yeah, I would say you look at their squad and there's a lot of strength. Not just from the players they've brought up the leagues, but the likes of Keir Macaulay making the step up, Ross Much. They've had some, really good players come up from their sort of development teams. They've kept a lot of the strong players like Murray Earl that they had last season. It's a shame to see a few people go, but do you know what? In order for them to make that step up, it was always going to happen. Yeah, it's hard to argue with Kelty. I don't think anybody will be able to argue with Kelty for competing this season. Their team looks extremely strong, and same as a few, I suppose. It's hard to really add anything, to be honest.
I think on paper they have the best squad in the league as things stand. So that's the first distinction there. So you mentioned there about the knock on Barry from previous experience. This is his make or break season, in my opinion. And that if he can't do it with this squad, he's never going to do it. And if he can't do it at Lowland League level, then I suspect it might be done for him as a gaffer, let's be honest. Because it'd be tough for a guy of his stature to go any kind of lower in terms of the ladder, and a lot of people were surprised initially when he went to Kelty. But when you speak to Ian, and we had a chat with him last year, this was always kind of the plan for the club, in that last season was consolidation year, get things ready, get things sorted, compete in the league, get used to it, and this was the year they were pushing for promotion. And their business shows you exactly what they intend to do, doesn't it? Nathan Austin, all things considered, should score an absolute barrel load in this league. Dylan Easton should be creating chances for fun. He's also got a decent set piece on him as well, which will really help. But it's not just the additions that have caught the headlines. They've picked up Ross Jordan, who's a brilliant young keeper, and it looks like he's going to be a backup, but he's one for the future that easily could be playing in the higher levels in the SPFL. Sean McCurdy, who was a great player for Selkirk and Gala in this league, will also have a really good influence there. Sean mentioned Errol and so on. And Gary Chen, I think, is the most under the radar signing they've made, because he's probably the classiest defender in this league. Looking back at last season, he just oozes class, doesn't he? He's brilliant defender. So Kelty's my pick for the favourites at this point. I think that's not taking too much of a stretch to say that, but a lot will come down to how this squad gels together. As with any other squad, like we've talked about Shire and so on, with the new faces. But yeah, if they start the season by dropping points, expect the pressure to ramp up on Barry as well. So they really need to have a good solid start to get moving, basically.
Yep. Another guy I think it's fair to mention, Ross Philp, who missed most of last season for injury, got injured quite early doors. That's like a new signing for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surprised at you, Derek, calling Kelty Hearts favourites. I mean, for me it's between, I think 3 teams in my mind. But just a quick question before we move on. Would it be seen as a failure if Barry maybe got second or third, if he didn't basically win the title, considering how strong the likes of East Kilbride, East Stirlingshire are?
I'd say so. I think it would be considered a failure. Maybe kind of behind the scenes at Kelty, I'm not sure if this would be the way they'd approach it, but as someone who's kind of neutral to the club, because obviously I've got my preference with BSC and so on, but purely looking for the outside with the additions they've made, anything less than winning this league will be a failure in my opinion. They've clearly invested to go ahead and win the league, so Shire. But I just think overall Kelty have got the edge and the quality there, and it's because of guys like Dylan Easton and Nathan Austin that realistically should be playing at a higher level and pure ability kind of measure. So I would consider it a failure if Kelty didn't win the league.
To be fair, I think I would agree, because looking at that strength of squad, it's going to be how the team's managed, whether they can, they're going to lose games, they're going to come up in games that are going to be a bit tougher, and how they react and how the team bounce back, how Barry reacts is going to be, that could sway either way. So yeah, ultimately I think winning the league is what they've set out to do, and anything less would be a failure.
These guys haven't joined Kelty to finish second, put it that way.
No, I agree, mate. I don't know, maybe people think I'm the harsh guy. I just think if you're up against... so, see, when Kelty were announcing all these guys, like, that was before, I think it was, before East Kilbride and Shire were strengthening too. So I think, when I spoke to Barry, obviously, early doors, that is the aim, to obviously go out and win the title, but I think it's circumstantial. It depends, if they lose out in the league by a point, then... I think it depends on circumstances for me, like I would say.
Of course it depends on all sorts of factors as well, but I think the kind of clincher would be if you spoke to Ian and you said, would you consider it a failure not winning the league? I suspect that he's putting everything behind winning this title, and I suspect he wouldn't see us as a success coming second.
Fair enough. Spartans, there's been a lot of talk about Spartans. Do they want to get promoted? Are they considered? I think that's incredibly harsh. Dean Hoskins and Aaron coming in from Bonnie Rig, Dale Baxter from Gallifreydine, and Michael Bolo, who's obviously very experienced, former Shire and SBFL and whatever else. But looking at the team, they have lost their captain Mikey Hare. They obviously lost Gary Chen. I think David Greenhill's away as well. The under-20s, we know how good they were, Sean. We saw them. Nicky Reid, who I keep praising, this teenager, he's 6, I think he's either 16 or 17, I don't know if he had a birthday recently, but Murray Hand, Cameron Dawson, they've got a really good balance of experienced guys at this level, guys like Jack Smith and obviously Adam Corbett. I think they're going to be right up there. Whether or not they're going to be in amongst the title sort of challengers, I'm not sure. I think the main asset, and I've always believed this, certainly from what I've saw, because I did see a fair bit of Spartans last season, the main asset there is their manager. Dougie Samuel, I think I credit him as being the most, I guess, tactical minded manager. He seems to know what to do during games, from what I've seen anyway. He changes things up and he seems to get results, and certainly when we weren't even talking about Spartans in terms of even top 4 last season, they came out of nowhere and went on a bit of a run, and if they can start off this season I think they'll prove a lot of doubters wrong in terms of any talk of them falling away in the Lowland League. What are your guys' thoughts?
Bear in mind, at the start of last season, Dougie wasn't there because of his health problems. And it really affected them in the early running. I suspect the way they finish the season will be more like what you'd see out of the start of this campaign. The Gaffers had a full pre-season again with the guys. It's very much a similar squad. They've made a couple of really good additions. Again, it's a bit under the radar with the kind of more headline grabbing Kelty and these Stirlingshire moves. I'd be astounded if Spartans weren't challenging again this year. Absolutely astounded by it because, we had that chat about Dougie in terms of his tactical intelligence. That especially the game at East Kilbride, they played in several times during the half. You would see him making little switches to take advantage of things that were coming up as the game developed, and he's a step ahead of loads of guys at this level. He's a very, very methodical gaffer, and he's basically like having a 20-goal a season striker, I'd argue.
Yeah,
because he makes that team better, and they're not one of these sides that go out with the same formation and the same style every week. He'll change his players up, he'll change his formation up to suit the opponents, and it gives Spartans an edge. So yeah, I'd expect him at very, very least be kind of top 6. It'll be a tough ask for them to be right up there at the end of the season with the quality of some other squads, but they've got a proven striker in Jack Smith who's going to stick the ball in the net any chance he gets. They've got guys like Dale Baxter in the midfield who's going to continually create things. They've got great experience through that team as well. It's a good balance between youth and experience. And the Cat, they've got arguably the best keeper in the league in Blair Carswell. So defensively they are absolutely solid, and if they rediscover that form a couple of years ago where they were just grinding out 1-goal wins, who knows?
Yeah, no, I think they've got. I think they have got a really good team. I would sort of put them in that sort of second tier of teams after your Shire, Kelty, East Kilbride, and I don't think you can rule BSC out. Those are the 4 that I can see battling out at the top, and then you do have your Bonnyrigg, Civil, and I think Spartans kind of fall into that tier of teams. The losses of Chen, Dish, Hard, like they've lost some big names this year. I think Dougie deserves a lot of credit for what he's able to do, but as far as that continuity goes, like those are some big names for them to lose, and I think that's going to be a knock on them taking another step up this season. I think they'll sort of be finishing in that second tier of teams, I think.
Interesting. I think got guys who obviously I've mentioned a few of them, like Nicky Reid, but their skipper last season, Michael Allen's coming in. I think he was ready for first team football, and it's guys just under 20s coming in. It was guys that they risked last season. We saw Nicky Reid play, we saw Joe Tate play, we saw Murray Hand and Cameron Dawson get games. So it's not like they're inexperienced boys at this level as well. They did get their chance and they done fairly well towards the end of the season. So I don't know. I wouldn't write off Spartans like I've seen some people do this season, but you never know. I guess.
I don't know if we've actually mentioned him. Forgive me if I've missed it for the 2 years. I think the big loss is McDonald up front, because he was such a classy striker, and not only was a big strong target man, he had pace and he had power and a great strike on him. I think he was really underrated. So I think they are looking a wee bit light up front now without him there. There's not really a big strong presence, I don't think.
I would disagree with that. I really like Stephen McDonald. I rated him. I think he was their top scorer actually last season. Obviously Jack Smith had injuries and stuff, and he wasn't getting the game time I think he probably would have deserved. Obviously that was Dougie's call. Aaron Murrell, he certainly gets goals, so I think it takes the pressure off Jack Smith. I think he's more than capable replacement for Stephen McDonald, and I certainly rate Stephen McDonald.
No, I agree with you in terms of the quality. It's more the fact that I don't see them having a big, strong target man type of player up there. So I'm more meaning physically rather than quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Well, Cameron Dawson's quite big.
Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't pick a fight with Cammy, but
I was waiting for you to call it Nicky Reid as the big target man there.
Anyway, swiftly moving on. still in university. A bigger squad this year. A lot of the under-20s moved up. Somewhat of a transition period. Obviously, losing a lot of big names into Lewis Hunter, Blair Lyons, guys of that calibre. A few of them obviously went to SPFL, and then others obviously moved to other Lowland league teams. But I think they can push. I mean, there was guys certainly that impressed me last season. Matty Burrows, who I think we both were impressed when we see them against the Strollers. Angus Mailer's now the captain. Kieran Hall, who was a bit of a miss for them. I'm not sure what happened with him towards the end. I think he might have been injured, or he might have just been away or something. But Ben Quigley, who was on loan at BSC Glasgow, has came in. James Berry, who was at Rafe, a youth at Rafe. Jason Jarvis, a youth at Falkirk, and Lewis Kennedy of Alloa, and I think Jack Adamson, who was formerly of Rangers. So they've brought in players with certainly youth experience at the SPFL level. I hope they push. I mean, I really like Stirling Uni. Certainly was impressed with them last season, especially the guys that might have left. But certainly, I hope they push. I just think they've got a bigger squad there, and I think they can push. I don't know if it'll be sort of top half, because we've mentioned, I think every team that we've mentioned is practically top half, apart from maybe one or two. But yeah, I really hope they do well. The cup runs that they went on might have affected their league position. Obviously, Sean, you mentioned in a previous podcast about their ability on the taking penalties, but certainly from what I've seen, an impressive squad that I would suspect with the depth and whatnot to hopefully do a wee bit better than last season.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's better marketing that the University of Stirling does versus Edinburgh, but you certainly see a lot more from them. They're playing across multiple leagues, so even when players are moving on, when they finish they're finished with university, I think they've just got so much going on there that they're able to. They seem to be able to pick out a lot of different teams to put together a pretty strong team, and I feel like they're one step ahead with this kind of thing. And I'd agree. We're splitting the league. I think we're calling the top half of the league the top 10, and the bottom half the bottom 6. But even then, I think they're going to struggle to get into the sort of top half of the league. But I don't think we'll see them right at the bottom. I think they'll have quite a comfortable buffer between them and the foot of the table.
Do you know, I'm really struggling with Stirling. I just don't know where to put them, because on the one hand, I've lost 4 very, very good players to the higher levels, but they've also added some interesting players, Adamson especially. So I genuinely can't call it. It wouldn't surprise me if they were able to kind of hit the ground running and establish themselves mid-table. It also wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they found themselves in a wee bit of bother towards the bottom of the league. So I genuinely don't know what to expect for them. We do know Chris is absolutely capable as a gaffer and bringing a squad together. He's done it a couple of times now that he's stitched together a brand new squad, having lost some good players every year. But who knows? It's my kind of cop-out answer for this one.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, I think we obviously kind of make it clear. It's just our opinion now, because we obviously don't know the full extent of the squads just yet. So it'd be unfair to predict where they're going to be with their business not done, I guess. They're leaving. Still a relatively small squad. I did make a comment, obviously, about Ando might be in between the sticks again this season, but they're obviously looking to get a few more signings. Watch this space type thing is what they said. The guys from the Spartans under 20s, Callum O'Neill, who was on loan for a wee bit last season, and Lewis Hall, who I was really impressed with. Tommy Patterson's probably one of the better signings in terms of him coming in from Gala. And Paul Thompson, another one that's, I would say, has went under the radar. Very experienced at this level. Pretty sure he was at Spartans, if I remember correctly, a few years ago. Absolutely. And I think one of the bigger ones is Liam Ireland re-signing. I really liked Liam in terms of season. I think he was, he done really well for them. Is there a bit of a worry in terms of the younger guys? They seem to have a bit of a kind of even spread of experience and obviously younger talent. But my worry would be the likes of Callum O'Neill and Lewis Hall coming from a team like Spartans under-20s, who are probably again used to winning, doing well, to a team that's probably not necessarily going to win, every game to say the least. Is that a concern just on that front, or guys like Jer Rossi, would he be obviously speaking to younger guys and getting them on board and make sure they didn't get frustrated and whatnot?
I don't think it is a concern necessarily. I actually think they've done a good job with the balance of the squad they've put together, just on paper. Obviously, we'll need to wait and see how it plays out in practice, but I think they're going into this season with a stronger team on the park. As you say, hopefully Ando's not between the sticks again, for his sake. And the fact that we didn't even realise that when we covered that game was something else as well. But yeah, I wouldn't put Vale in the top half. I think they'd be quite happy being mid to lower end as long as they avoid the relegation side of things. And I think just purely based on what they've got there, they've got enough to do that. A lot will depend on injuries and so on, because as you say, it's not the biggest squad that they tend to have. But yeah, I think Ando will probably go into this campaign quite positive, that they'll have a good time of things.
Yeah, I think squad size let them down a little bit. Last season there was a couple. I've got, as you know, a bit of a soft spot for Vale, and going and seeing them a couple of times last season. They struggled with squad size, not having enough players on the bench, and they still managed to avoid it by a couple of places. They didn't have the strongest finish last year, and then you look at the team that they've got this year, and it seems to have got stronger. If they can get some trialists in, bulk up their numbers a little bit, I'd hope that they're going to be safe this season. But yeah, it'll be bottom half for them.
So that's pretty much our review of the 16 teams of the league, guys. We'll go on to next week's fixtures. We do have competitive fixtures. The start of the Betfred Cup for Berwick Rangers and East Kilbride. Berwick Rangers are playing Ayr United, and East Kilbride are playing Albion Rovers. Any thoughts on them games? I mean, it's I think for me, both of them, I think East Kilbride might have a chance against Albion. I'm not 100% sure how Albion have sort of developed, but certainly given last season, I think East Kilbride, it could be an interesting test for them in terms of up against the League 2 side, and obviously Berwick Rangers interesting against Ayr United. Any thoughts on them two games, guys?
I think the East Kilbride one, I think it's still going to be a tough ask for them to go away and take points in these games, but we've saw it the last few years with the Betfred Cup that the teams representing the Lowland League have been able to go out and steal a few, and if it was a game that you'd see East Kilbride potentially doing that, it would be this one. The Berwick Rangers one, I can't see them overcoming Ayr United, unfortunately, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because the last few years they've not been getting gubbed every week. Let's say the Lowland League teams have done quite well in these competitions, so let's hope it's good for them. Yeah,
they beat Steny last year, didn't they, Kilby, in the Betfred at Steny as well, which was an interesting result. But I think even if neither of the Lowland sides pulls off a win there, I think the Betfred is great preparation for the season, because you're getting 4 really competitive games against top class opposition, and what better way to get ready and tuned up for the league getting started. So it'll be a great yardstick for Kilby to see where they are. Albion Rovers have improved, I think, from the team that was there last season. They were another one of these teams that hit the ground running at the end and put a great run of form together. So you'd expect them to be kind of mid-table in that league, and that's ultimately the level Kilby want to be. So we'll see how that goes. I'm with Sean on the Ayr game. Berwick at the moment will just be wanting to get the squad together and tuned up. I don't think they'll be that bothered about the results ultimately in the Betfred. It'll be more about getting money in the coffers and getting prepared for the season.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously both of them games next Saturday the 13th. Shieldfield Park and K Park, both home games for the two clubs there. So we'll get into plugs. I'll obviously let you go, Muzza, since it's a bit of a tradition that you go first on plugs, mate.
Obviously, you can turn off after this, folks. At Mozza Plays on Twitter and everywhere else, basically.
You can find myself at Spend Sean on Twitter and also on Facebook at the Lowland Catchup.
At Rampant FM on Twitter, and obviously you can get the official Catchup at official Catchup on Twitter. We've actually got over 1,000 followers now, guys. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I never really announced too much, but I'm hoping to maybe put something together for that in the next few weeks. I say in the next few weeks, in the next week or so. So keep an eye out. We do have a website coming as well before the season kicks off as well. So a lot to look forward to. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure what's going to be happening in terms of before the season starts, but certainly during the season we'll ramp up our coverage in terms of player interviews and hopefully speak to a few of the gaffers and whatnot, like we did last season. But we obviously appreciate everyone's support, from the players to the managers to just the clubs in general, and obviously the George Fraser and the league. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
See ya.